Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC, and today I'm going to be looking at alternative FPV options for the Hubsan H107D Plus as well as the original H107D. A question I get asked a lot is, can you use FPV goggles with the new Hubsan H107D Plus? And the answer is yes, however it's not completely straightforward. The H107D and the H107D Plus select a different 5.8 frequency every time they bind to the transmitter. So if you are using goggles with a fixed channel selection, then you will have to change the channel on your receiver every time you fly as well. There are quite a few options though, so let's take a look at them all. The first option we have is within the Hubsan stock transmitter. Once the aircraft is bound, we can then go into the settings and change the 5.8 GHz frequency to the known fixed frequency of our alternative video receiver. It's a pain, but it can be achieved. The problem is, though, that the H107D's transmitter does not go static when it loses video signal. The same can be said for the H107D Plus version. As soon as the signal starts to break up, we get a black signal loss detection screen. Signal loss detection is useful on television so that when you lose the signal, you're not looking at a bunch of static, but it doesn't work for FPV because we want to be able to see our signal up to the point where it is completely lost. This is where you will want to use an alternative FPV video receiver. I talked about how to change the stock 5.8 GHz frequency once bound, but there's an easier option. The ViewXL FPV goggle set has an auto scan feature. Within seconds of booting up, it automatically finds the H107D's FPV feed and locks into it. This is probably the quickest solution, and the ViewXL FPV goggles do not blue screen, so we get a true reflection of our FPV signal. What about that transmitter though, especially on the H107D Plus, which has a pathetic 100-foot range? Well, you can choose one of the above options to enhance your FPV experience, but to increase the control range we also have a couple of options. The first one would be to add an SMA connector to the stock TX. If you want to know how to do this, then check out the Transmitter Mods playlist on the channel. I have already done a video on how to do this. You will then want to add a Wi-Fi booster to get further range, especially on the H107D Plus. The option I have chosen though is to use my hacked Devo 7E transmitter. Thanks to Gobish on the Deviation TX forums, the Hubsan H107D and Plus models have been added as a single protocol on the Devo range of transmitters. This has many advantages, especially on the new Plus model. The new altitude hold feature on the Plus model is great for outdoors, however it makes flying indoors really difficult. The barometer that is built into the flight controller that measures the differences in air pressure is not accurate enough to provide a steady altitude hold indoors where ceilings are around about the 10-foot mark. Now that I can use my Devo 7E with the new Hubsan model, I have a tension throttle stick opposed to the spring-loaded throttle stick of the Plus model's TX. This means that I can easily adjust for inaccuracies of the altitude hold and get a much nicer hover indoors. You could of course desolder the pot on the stock Hubsan transmitter and swap it with a tension throttle, but you would have to source the part, and perhaps doing that mod could cause a problem with its resale value of the unit. The extra resolution that the Devo 7E's gimbal sticks provide is what gives it the win for me. There are many more advantages to using the Devo 7E over the stock TX. First of all, we have the option to manually select a default 5.8 GHz frequency on startup. This means that every time we bind to the Hubsan, the 5.8 frequency will stay the same to what we have selected in the transmitter's settings. The second advantage, of course, is that I added the option of a Wi-Fi booster to my Devo 7E, so that should take care of the control range issues. To install the new Hubsan protocol on the Devo 7E, navigate to the new Hubsan's protocol thread on the Deviation TX forum, download the build that Gobish has provided, extract it and go to the Defuse firmware upgrader, boot the Devo 7E into firmware upgrade mode as shown in my Deviation TX video, select the new DFU file and press upgrade, Once we have done that, we then boot the Devo 7E into the removable drive mode. We then copy the protocol folder to the existing protocol folder and overwrite the existing files. Navigate back to the Deviation TX forum and download my model.ini file. Upload that to the models folder. You can rename it to any model number you like so that it doesn't overwrite your existing models. Load my model up and then scroll down to the Hubsan protocol. If you press enter, we have the option to select the 5.8 GHz frequency. This will always bind with this frequency once selected. Turn on your Hubsan Plus model and then press the Re-Init button within the Devo 7E's menus and you will get a bind. My model.ini file has the headless mode on the hold switch, 360-degree flips on the F mode switch. You can start and stop the video recording by pressing the up button, and you can press the down button to do a snapshot. There isn't any different rate modes or an LED on and off with this model. We have no battery telemetry either. You can then use whatever video receiver or goggles you want, and the quadcopter will always boot up with that same 5.8 GHz frequency. So I went for a quick flight using my Fatsharks and the Devo 7E, and it came out really well after a bit of a shaky takeoff. This is a much better way to fly this aircraft. I think this is probably the smoothest footage that I've ever managed to get out of an indoor quadcopter as I fly around the front room there. And apologies for the pajamas, and you'll see the clock in the background there. It is 2 a.m. It's very late, but I wanted to give this a fly and see how it performed, and it's just so stable, and it's just so much easier to fly now that I have got that tension throttle. I can adjust for inaccuracies with the altitude hold, and I can be really accurate with it as well. I'm using my Fatsharks here. One thing that I need to mention is the antenna, of course. So we are using a dipole antenna on the Fatsharks, and that is because there is a dipole antenna on the quadcopter as well. So that's important, really. You're not going to get any benefit from using a cloverleaf antenna because that is not on the aircraft. So we have matched the antennas there, and I'm using the dipole on the Fatsharks. So I just thought I'd have a quick fly around the living room here. It is very low light, but actually this camera is doing quite well. This is also with that lens mod that I did using the 808 lens. You can see we're getting a slight blue light in the corners there. If I added a little bit of tape to the LEDs on the quadcopter, then I wouldn't get that. I figured that I will get an LVC warning, but actually it's only the backlight that seemed to have that LVC. So I was flying around here and all of a sudden my battery went and I couldn't see it. So yeah, I think if I'm flying indoors with this, I'm going to add tape to those LEDs so that they don't show in the corners. But apart from that, this is fantastic footage. I'm really impressed with it. Anyways, I think I'm going to come in for a landing in a minute because I can't seem to get any higher than that. My battery has gone. But there you go. That was a quick flight with the FPV setup. So there you go, that is my video on the different FPV options for the H107D Plus. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.